It is the Martha Zoller Show. Joni Alpert's here with me today, and I just got to say to you, Democratic Steven Spielberg produced this event. Okay, 80% of the American people live east of the Mississippi. You should adjust the time when you're in Central, or even if you're in Pacific time. You should adjust the time so it finishes up by 11 p.m. Eastern time. Okay? That way you reach the most people, and those people on the left coast are used to having their news early because they've had it that way for years. Anyway, Paul James Jr. is joining me right now. I saw him on Fox last week talking about his job, but also why he supports Republicans. He's a conservative precinct chair in the Republican Party of Bexar County and the president of the Young Republicans of Bexar County. He's got a degree in chemical and natural gas engineering from Texas A&M, and he's a lead frac engineer powering the Texas oil and gas industry. Paul, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for inviting me on here, Martha.
It was so refreshing to see somebody like you, and it has nothing to do with you being a black man, which I know on radio you can't tell if someone's a black man or not, so I'm going to tell people you're a black man. But the fact that you defended your job and the industry that you were in, and you talked about why you support who you support from a very pragmatic point of view, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I want to just say, people identify with a lot of things. I identify as a child of God, and I identify as American. So I think those are unifying things, and I think the majority of the conversation right now needs to be on a unifying thing. I think we're all unified in outrage with the way things are going in America, and I think we're all unified in outrage with the delusion that one side of the spectrum continues to push on all of us. And things are not okay.
Well, it's funny when I always tell people something similar when I describe myself. People go, well, you're a Republican. You should think this way. And I go, well, no, I'm a Christian wife, mother, grandmother, American, Georgian, conservative, and then I'm a Republican. Okay, so all those other things are more important to me than my political views. And but I am a strong conservative. I've been involved in the Republican Party for most of my adult life, and I think our ideas are better. The reason why I support Republican ideas, conservative ideas, is because in things like the industry you're in and other places, our ideas are better and they expand the economy. They don't contract the economy. So tell folks your story and the kind of work you do, but also why you are thinking the way you do on politics.
Well, thank you again. So I'm originally born and raised in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm the son of immigrants. So my family came there from different parts of the Caribbean. My father's from Dominica, my mom's from Aruba, and they migrated to the Virgin Islands at different periods. But one thing that was common was at that time there was a lot of industry with the refining sector, and then eventually in petrochemicals. And so my parents legally migrated there. And legally migrating into the Virgin Islands, you would think, oh, well, it's an island and, people are coming and going. But no, they were very stringent on immigration, even back in the 70s and 80s. And the local people had a very protectionist attitude towards immigration. So when my parents migrated there, if they didn't have the family bonds and their family values, they would have been left on the street. And so they really had to work together and build, the life that they wanted. Fast forward to my sister, my cousin, and I being born, and, we had a very quality education, going to St. Mary's Catholic School. We went to public schools for a high school, which opened us up to like the full spectrum of people in the community. And, education was pushed as our tool to advancing. And so, I came to the United States to pursue a degree in chemical and natural gas engineering. And I went to Texas A&M Kingsville because of their place in the history of natural gas in America. Dr. Frank H. Dotterwhite not only competed in the Amsterdam Olympics, but he's the godfather of the American natural gas industry. And so I studied there and I learned from great professors, and I had a lot of contact with different oil and gas companies. The Eagle Ford Shale took off around that time. And so this is where in my article I talk about the policies that former President Obama was pushing during his presidency, and how those things started to impact my future career prospects. So in college, I was a liberal. I felt legalize marijuana. People do whatever they want. Obama's cool, and I voted for him twice. But as I moved into having a job, and I realized income was not going up, your starting wages were not going up. The way the industry continued shifting between 2012 and 2015, I found myself having to look for a job every single year. And these companies were downsizing, or they were moving out of the country, or based on the environmental policies that he was trying to push, a lot of them felt it wasn't feasible to keep operating. And so I found myself unemployed numerous times, looking for a job and just starting over every single year. My mom's a teacher, and there was times I had to ask my mom for help. So here I am, graduated as an engineer, asking my mom, a teacher, to help me get through a period of time. And so a lot of that changed when I saw President Trump get elected. And right off the bat, I remember Vice President Pence saying at the RNC that year, Donald Trump drills. He wants to drill. He will dig for coal. He will push for energy. And I didn't vote for Trump because I was still kind of like in the survival mentality. But I saw where just on the prospect of him allowing fracking, drilling, energy production, I was hired, and I saw myself flourish in a short period of time thanks to those national policies. And so that helped me to rediscover conservatism. In addition to that, hearing people like Dr. Mark Levin, and Dan Bongino, and listening to their shows every day and understanding more of what I was encountering, those things helped me to rediscover conservatism. And so I'm proud to say that I'm a strong conservative and strong in my beliefs about where we need to go as a country right now.
So what has been the impact since you've been more public with your point of view? Have a lot of people reached out to you?
Yeah, I think it's amazing because a lot of people share the same views. And that's why in the beginning I said, it's a matter of the unifying factors. A lot of people all identified that things were better a few years ago. Maybe they're still hung up on mean tweets, and, former President Trump, he has a bravado to him. He has a unique personality, and so a lot of people may be put off by that. But to just be mature about the state of affairs, I think everyone tangibly agrees things are better, And as they hear me talk about this, we find unity on the simple things that I've said, not so much on former President Trump, but that things are worse and things need to change. And so we have an option between two candidates, and we know who the best option is.
Well, and you live in Texas, which is a red state, and there's a lot of discussion about how black men are going to vote. Now, I don't expect you to speak for all black men. You certainly don't. I mean, you speak for yourself. But I know in my own interactions, when I go to the barbershop, the community barbershop here, and I just sit and listen, they're nice enough to let me come, and I know the guy that owns the barbershop, and so I've sat and listened there before. I had a co-host with me who passed away earlier this year, but was a pastor in the community, and he was head of the Independent Black Pastors Association up here. So I've made an effort, even though I'm a white bread and mayonnaise girl, I grew up in, you know what I mean? I've made an effort to get out and get to know my fellow man, And I do see, I see two things. One, I see people like you that are willing to say, hey, I'm conservative and I'm not going to be, embarrassed about it. And then I get these, especially younger people, come up to me and they kind of lower their voice and they go, I'm probably going to vote for Trump because my life was better, but I certainly can't tell my friends. So that's what I'm encountering. What are you encountering?
Mm-hmm. So I'm getting mixed reviews. I think a lot of people, and I'll give the disclaimer. I'm from a West Indian heritage. Growing up in the Virgin Islands, my family heritage, they're not of the same African American tradition. So there's a disconnect in terms of some of the history that goes back to some of the sentiment held in the African American community.
Right.
But I will say, as somebody that would be identified as black, if you saw me down the street, I always tell people, the police, when they stop me, they say, we got a black male here. I say, hey, I'm not from here. And they're like, wait, are you legal? So,
Yeah.
they're going to look and identify me based on the way I look, okay? And as somebody that looks as I do, I'm hearing widely across the spectrum, there's a lot of underlying support for President Trump. Now, I will say, and that's kind of what I ended with my conversation with Lawrence Jones about, former President Trump needs to get past having to requalify a lot of things with President Biden and what the radical left has been doing. It's better if he can define Marxism and pin them to the ideology of Marxism and how deadly and detrimental that has been, versus for him to continue relitigating the election was stolen, to relitigate a lot of things that most of us see on the face did not look kosher. But the solutions that he has, and being clear about those and speaking to those communities, that's where he's going to get the most support. And I think in the oil and gas industry, across the board, everybody's praying for Donald Trump to get back in. Everyone. I mean, if you find one person that says, I don't know about Trump, I mean, they're definitely not going to tell us that, because they'd probably be chased off a location very quickly. Everyone is in unison in the oil and gas industry, at least in my area in the oil fields with production, drilling, fracking. We are unified that President Donald J. Trump is going to be the answer to revitalizing the industry, to solidifying the employment opportunities that we have. Right now, we're in a down period where wages are actually being pinched right now. Prices are being pinched on the ground level, and that affects labor forces. It affects what small businesses are doing. And so we are all united in the belief that President Donald J. Trump will revitalize American energy, and it will be a positive.
There's no doubt that energy cost drives the cost of everything that we buy in America. And if you want to get inflation under control, you've got to have a robust energy industry that is also, a net exporter rather than any kind of importing. If we do that, then we can fix a lot of our problems. If people want to know more about you, Paul, how can they find out?
So I'm on Facebook. I go by NWSA Precinct. And so that's my precinct chair account. They're free to follow me on there. And I post a lot of different things regarding what we're doing in Bexar County. I know a lot of people say it's Bexar, but it's actually pronounced Bear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, I post a lot of things there. I try to post some articles. We've had a lot of press since I had the opportunity to publish in Newsweek, and I just want to thank Miss Batya Sargar Ungar, and her book Second Class, which talks a lot about what the working class is experiencing, because that really helped me to find a voice to speak about my story and what my brethren in the oil and gas industry are going through.
Paul James Jr., thank you so much for giving us your time today. I wish you the best, and if you ever come to Georgia, you come visit, okay?
Definitely, Martha. I'd love to try your barbecue over there.
Thank you very much.